spent a lot of money with him, and it kind of worked, but it wasn't that great.
Chiropractor?
Yeah, well, it's not really like a chiropractor. He does like this other kind of treatment, and I didn't realize it was a lot more new agey than I thought it was gonna be. But like it seemed like it worked a little bit. The idea is that basically muscles kind of turn off if you work them too hard, and I've definitely done that. Like I've definitely worked out, like overworked so many muscles that, and I could feel like they just weren't firing properly. So he goes in and basically kind of like resets the circuit breaker on there, and I guess by
What is it called?
I forget the name of it.
Is it like the craniosacral fluid?
No, it's not that though. I did try that, and one lady was actually pretty.
Another new age thing.
Yeah. One lady, like, she admitted, she's like, yo, this is weird, but it felt good, and like I felt a little bit better afterwards. No, I forget what the name of this is. It'll come to me later.
Yeah.
It was recommended in the 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss, which is like my hero. So I was like, okay, I'll try this out. It's like $50 per muscle to reactivate, which adds up extremely.
$50 per muscle?
Yeah.
That's how he charges you?
Yeah. And I mean, the guy, he's worked on like he's legit in the sense that he's worked on like all NBA players and like Olympic athletes, and like all his walls are just filled with signed posters, jerseys, whatever. Like he has the records behind it to prove that, like, you know, what he's doing works. But so he's one of those guys that some of the stuff he said, I'm like, I don't know if I believe this. Like at one point, he's like, oh, well, one of your muscles are deactivated, but I can't fix it. So he brought over like a box and like put it on my stomach. And he's like, now the muscle works. And they took off the box. Now it doesn't. In here is like, I think it was like, it wasn't magnesium. It was phosphorus. He's like, you need to take phosphorus every day. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe. He's like, well, now it's in your energy field. I'm like, really? Like it just being on my stomach? Like maybe. I'm willing to try it. Yeah, I'm like,
jump.
Yeah, like the other stuff, like when he's going in and like, so like let's say this muscle was deactivated, he'll like go in and like do this thing, and I'm like, all right, I could see potentially this working. Same thing with the phosphorus, maybe, but like that's a bit more of like a far-fetched thing.
Have you heard this guy they call it the Iceman?
Yeah.
Went off. I
Yeah.
just heard him on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. It's trippy stuff.
I haven't, he's on Tim Ferriss's podcast as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't listened to that episode, but.
He's, it's interesting because it's this breathing technique. It's really similar to these meditations I was teaching a few years ago.
Okay.
Where you essentially just get high off oxygen. And you get really uncomfortable because what it's doing is alkalizing your blood and your body and killing all like bacteria that don't belong because they can't live in the over-oxygenated areas. And in the meditations, you start to lose feeling here and in your cheeks.
Okay.
And then it just shuts your mind off, and then you're supposed to go just do catharsis. You just like let it out. Just let your body just free itself. And it's letting out all like the internal repressed emotions that are said to like lead to cancer and stress-based diseases.
I didn't realize he did that kind of stuff.
No. This is what I was doing right, in my New Age circles in Mexico.
Yeah.
And it was really powerful for me and a lot of people. And then I came back here and we started doing it at people's houses and stuff. And it's pretty cool because it's really psychedelic.
Yeah.
We put music on. And then you just, and then everyone's just like dancing and doing stuff. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And it's
cool.
weird. But anyway, this style of breathing that he does is really similar, where you just bring in more oxygen than you let out, right?
Okay.
Or then you let out CO2.
Yeah.
So it's getting the CO2 out still, but you're breathing in more and more oxygen. And then he says, hold your breath after, and that's how you practice. So you can hold your breath longer and longer because you're bringing more oxygen in. And in that state, you're activating your like amphibian brain or your reptilian brain.
Sure.
The endocrine system, right?
Yeah.
Which produces adrenaline or dopamine, serotonin, like these things So it's fucking gnarly. And so like he was doing all this shit. He was running marathons in the North Pole, half marathon, barefoot.
Yeah.
He climbed Everest in shorts.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and then they finally started doing science experiments on him, and so all this stuff is backed up now.
Yeah.
Like, it's really. So it was trippy for me because those were the same kind of meditations we were doing.
Yeah.
Right.
How'd you get involved in that?
In Mexico.
At
that New Age healing center I was working at.
Oh, okay.
So this holistic health center. I went to teach yoga and just kind of volunteer, and then it turned into doing all kinds of stuff.
Have you ever done ayahuasca?
No, but I might go to Peru next month and do it.
Yeah?
I'm thinking about it.
I want to do it at some point. I'm nowhere close to ready to do it. Like, I went down to I forget the name of that city. The city where like a ton of people do ayahuasca, and it's funny because like half the people there are like, dude, you need to do it, and the other half realize like, look, if I say I'm not in the place, I'm not in the place.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like some people were just the way they tried to peer pressure it. It's like, look, this is a pretty big deal. Like I'm not just gonna like lightly be like, yeah, let's just try it out. But I'm still like kind of like right now I'm pretty happy with the direction I'm set. I don't know if I'd want to just be like mind fucked into the whole new thing.
I mean, it depends how you look at it. You know, like I have the problem with being mind fucked all the time because I'm that kind of person anyway. Right? I don't think you're that type of person anyway. Like me, you see, I'm doing new shit all the fucking time. I'm always all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the longest I ever stayed anywhere was like 2 months because I just get ready to go. So even the things I was working on, I've had to make them digital, which is why I'm starting a podcast called Digital Pneumatics.
Oh, that's
so I'm
nice.
collecting all these episodes, these conversations. I have a ton of so far, and now they're just on my YouTube channel. As soon as I get the time, I'm gonna format them and make it a thing. But the point is that like, not even just being a nomad, like you know, digital nomad, like working online and traveling around, but like even digitally being a nomad. Because I even migrate from kind of realm to realm, from media to branding to social media to even like I'm trying to get into VR. So like all these different things. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what was I bringing up these conversations for? Just trying to collect.
Talking about,
oh yeah.
I'm talking about ayahuasca too. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't know where that came. Wait. Oh, the being pressured into it thing. Yeah. So I've been doing acid a lot lately.
Yeah.
LSD. I've never done it before.
Really?
Summer.
What made you start doing it?
Someone gave me some. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Get this, dude. I bought it in front of Best Buy.
Yeah.
Someone legitimately came up and started talking to me and ended up selling me acid in front of Best Buy, Valencia.
Okay.
In the suburbs. Like,
that's hilarious.
that is everyone I tell, drug users or not, is like, what?
Yeah.
But this guy started talking to me. He's like, hey, you know where the bus station is? Talks to me about a spiritual journey he had, like walking from California to Florida.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you do now? He's like 22. He's like, oh, I teach meditation. And he's from Oaxaca, Mexico. I was like, dude, I taught meditation in Oaxaca, Mexico. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So he introduces me to his friends who end up having acid for really cheap. So I bought it, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'll do this. I don't know if I'm ready, even though I've been wanting to do it for years. And then 3 days later, my sister's friend is in town visiting, and he's in an acid kick too. And so he gives me more for free.
Wow.
He's like, here,
Okay.
just in case that's bunk, you know this is good.
Wow.
So I ended up having four hits. I haven't
All at once?
No.
Oh, I was like, Jesus, dude.
Which, what I found out, that would pretty much be the equivalent of one hit of the 60s.
Really? Got
Yeah.
weaker. It's the opposite of weed.
They would take 100 micrograms back then. Now
Okay.
we take 25 or 30.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So even now, I've only taken one full dose, like once. I started with a half dose, then I did 2 quarter doses. I was microdosing it, dude, like every other day. It's great. It's like spiritual Adderall.
Huh.
You just feel fucking great. You can focus. I had the best workouts I've had since I was 18.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like, and I do yoga, I bike, you
Yeah.
know, like I don't work out, but like, dude, with the fucking acid, I started off with dancing, and then I started doing like yoga gymnastics, and then I just started like doing some kind of boxing stuff, and then I just sprinted outside, straight up the hill, just sprinting, started jumping everywhere, like it was nuts. And then I got home and I just needed to like vomit, not because of the acid, just because I worked out too hard.
Wow.
You know? And then the next time I was on a bike ride, and I had thought the acid was bunk because I tried the other kind, and it kicked in the middle. I was like, oh shit, this is acid. And I end up like conquering every steep hill in Saugus, you know, like from Plico. And then I get home, and I just like had to lay down, like pass out. But anyway, dude, it's a really cool microdosing technique.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one of those things I want to do at some point is acid. I don't know. I mean, like any normal person that hasn't experienced that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, it's a little scary. It's like, what am I going to change or do differently? And to me, with acid, at least in my head, the way I want to do it is where I kind of come at like a stuck point. Like I'm not like unhappy in life, but it's kind of just like, I'm like, all right, I feel like I've done a lot. What do I want to do next? Like, you know, kind of like an indecision point.
Yeah.
Also with acid, to me, I'd want to do it around people that know, you know, somewhat what's going on. I don't know. It kind of scares me to do it by myself too.
I mean, yeah, but this is what I tell everyone, and even like going on Reddit to trip reports, like everything, like half a dose is nothing. It's Arrowwood wouldn't even call it threshold.
Oh,
You
really?
wouldn't even hit threshold. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like nothing is psychedelic about it.
And how many micrograms is that? 12 micrograms.
15.
Okay.
Yeah. Even 25, which is one dose, is hardly a dose.
Huh.
I think that's why it lowered to a dose, because they said 25 or 30 hit the threshold of experience. And I've only done that once, and I took half, and then 2 hours later I wasn't feeling it, so I took the other half, and then it all hit me. I was like, oh shit.
Okay.
But the other times I did a quarter dose, man. Same thing. I did in the afternoon, or 1 o'clock. Take it, takes an hour, and then I kind of have to, like, when it kicks in, it's kind of the scariest part, because you're just suddenly like, holy shit, and you have to just chill. So I would like meditate.
Is it like introspective as well? It sounds like it was very.
Acid's not. That's mushrooms is introspective.
Really, I've heard like people with LSD have some introspection too. No.
Okay, it depends how you qualify introspection, because introspection is relative to like the dimension you're approaching it.
Oh, okay.
So with mushrooms or probably ayahuasca, I don't know because I've never done it. But with mushrooms, right, you have introspection there with yourself. Yeah. Inside in this dimension of yourself. With acid, your perception of everything around you is just changed completely. So the introspection comes naturally just because your perception has changed so drastically.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's what I was looking for more.
Yeah. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
Same idea, just different way of putting it.
Same thing with mushrooms. Mushrooms is another one of those things that. So you've done a decent amount, or
mushrooms? Yeah, I did my first mushrooms at 19 in Holland, where it was legal. Okay. And then on Christmas, and then again on my birthday, because I was living in Europe, and then they just kept coming my way, once or twice a year, until I was like 23, 24. Okay. And then did this righteous holy dose at 24 years old in San Francisco.
So holy dose is just like a way huge amount?
A sixth, an eighth, so like 6 grams is approximately a true dose. Okay. It's enough to like not be able to fight it. Yeah. Because if you don't take a lot, you can fight it. Okay. And you can stay away, but it's a bad trip. You're not going to enjoy it. Interesting. Right? But if you take a holy dose, same thing, you can fight it, but there will come a point where you will no longer be able to fight it. And that's like what they call the breakthrough. Right? And you have that breakthrough. For me, it was dying, experiencing full physical death.
That's scary as fuck.
Because I know, man. Well, that's the part of it. Because I'm really sensitive to the things anyway. So my friends weren't feeling it in their stomach, but I was. I was feeling this like really bad cramp. And I was like, what's going on? Because we also put like 5-HTP and brewed the tea with green tea. And I was caffeine sensitive at the time. Yeah. And so I looked it up later. And
wait, so the green tea out of all this is what got to you?
Yeah, I was getting the shakes. Right? Well, no, I think it was the 5-HTP.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Because some people have an adverse reaction if they have an empty stomach. Okay. And my friends had no reactions. They were fine. Wow. And fine in a sense. They're still tripping out. But meanwhile, I'm like dying, literally. So I try to shower. I try to do yoga. I do all these things. I can't get over it. So after all this time, what ends up happening is I have to just submit. And I have to be like, all right, I guess I'm dying. I guess my dad's taking the bus home tomorrow without me. And I finally just like surrender to it. Like, that's it. I can't fight it because I'm trying to fight it. I'm using every technique I know. Breathing, showering, yoga, like focusing. I'm trying all these things because I like to be in control. And then finally I was like, none of these things are working. I laid in the fetal position and I allowed myself to die.
Well, so let's stop for a second because I've heard this before. What do you mean die? Like, what is it? What do you mean to die?
I mean, like, consciously accept that my time as a 3D being is over.
Okay, but you're here now, like, so...
Yeah, it doesn't mean you really die, but accepting it, like, truly accepting it, like, we can say that all the time, but it's not until you're in that heroic dose of mushrooms, for me, that you're really experiencing it.
Okay, so...
Joseph Campbell put it like this. Religion is only a metaphor until it's experienced. Okay. So that experience for me is what put my own religion in context. And I've developed my own religion since then.
I want to talk about that in a second. So like, okay, let's talk about, so you accepted, like, all right, you really deeply accepted, like, I'm dying. Then did you have, like, some darkness and then kind of, like, wake back up? Or is it just, like, by accepting it, you... Like, what is that actually, the experience of dying like? I'm sure it's hard to explain.
Well, so, dying itself had been happening the whole trip. This pain getting worse and worse, nothing I could do, freaking out, like tell my friends I gotta go down the street and get some snacks or something. I need to kill this trip. I'm dying here. They're like, you're just tripping and chill out. And I'm like, I know, but you guys aren't feeling the stomach thing. It's only me. Like, maybe something's really wrong.
Jesus.
That's what happens when you trip. You forget that you're tripping.
Yeah. Yeah.
So dying was quite legitimately letting go, right? And suddenly just being one with the universe, one with God, one with divinity. And not like it's a person, but just that everything's blissful. Mm-hmm. Everything's harmonious. And everything was so harmonious, and it was just like a kaleidoscope of the universe, right? Like, of the universe's mansion. I was getting a guided tour, just flowing through. And other people get information at this stage. They meet interdimensional beings, like my friend did in the other room during that trip.
Oh, okay.
Meanwhile, me, I was just experiencing what it's like to be there, in this state beyond life, of it, beyond subjective existence, I guess is the way to put it. And so it was great.
And this only happened after you accepted the fact that, okay.
It was heaven, as they put it, right? Heaven and hell. You know, it was just proof that duality doesn't exist when you're dead.
So you'd see
church.
The beautifulness of it and like the hellishness of it?
No, there is no hellishness.
Oh,
There's no such thing as hell. There's no such thing as the negative.
Okay.
As we put it. It's perceived, I think. In our reality, we perceive it. But just like, this is what I learned when I was there, right? Is that everything's got its up, everything's got its down. In order to experience that up, you have to experience that down, right? And vice versa. And it's what makes you feel alive. And so that's why, like, in the practice of yoga, right, the method is to go right in between. So you're experiencing the ups and the downs, but you're not reacting like, yes, woohoo, or fuck me, man. Yeah. You know? So, like, you're experiencing them the whole way through, and you're living through them, but you're not allowing them to dictate who you are.
Sure.
So I've had this problem with the ups, with the excitement, with getting stoked. And I feel this summer, if there's one lesson I've learned from the LSD and the massive amounts of weed I've been smoking, being stuck here in the suburbs, is that I may have gone too far with the ups. I may have channeled in with the drugs too much creative excitement, too much, like, I've generated just a lot of electricity, right? And it's great. And none of it has truly, like, not worked. I'm still waiting to see what happens with investment pitches, with show pitches, with like 20 different things, right?
Yeah.
But I feel that maybe I brought it all in too fast and it needs more time to develop. I don't know. Nothing has crashed and burned. Everything is still developing in its own way, so it's cool.
So you're kind of worried that, like, you're going up so high that the logical thing is that you're going to have some kind of down?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And because that's how everything works, is balance.
Yeah.
So, like, what is existence? What is the whatever universe? It's just a wave, right? It's just like I don't know. I like to look at a sine wave. Mm-hmm. So you have the crest, you have the trough, you have half and half that balance each other out, and it's a function. So everything in that function of x equals y has to be harmonious with itself. Mm-hmm. Every variable you plug in has to be harmonious with the function itself, or else it won't come out.
Yeah.
It just won't come out because it's not real. So then in my life, I started applying that to where, okay, I'm doing something that doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel harmonious. Mm-hmm. So it's not part of the equation. It doesn't work. Yeah. That variable doesn't fit. I'm taking it out.
Sure.
And then, or it needs to change a little bit. So we're getting kind of abstract. Yeah. But that's the way society works too. And civilization, that's why it's so fucked up, is because too many variables don't work. Yeah. They're not organic. They're forced. And we're learning a lot from it. And I think we're growing from it as a species, but we might not survive it. Who knows?
What do you mean we might not?
It might be part of the balance.
What do you mean by that?
I think it was another Joe Rogan podcast with Duncan Trussell. He was saying some Buddhist monk fucking was predicting that sooner than later, souls will choose to reincarnate into technological bodies instead of human organic bodies because they're becoming more intelligent.
Okay.
So especially if you start looking at merging the capabilities of the human brain, which is a lot more unique than the computer for now, start bringing those two together. Like, why wouldn't intellect choose that as its body? So if you subscribe to the belief that all the universe or God is as creation from whatever, a few different molecules reacting and creating all this, it's just the journey towards more intelligence. is to get to know itself more and more and more while it extrapolates. So the universe is always expanding, and it's also getting a lot smaller as us, with our lenses of perception through technology, can actually trace these little things, right? Straight down to vibrations in different forms. Okay. So like that Iceman guy, right? Like, or with singing bowls. I do a lot of singing bowl stuff, right? And now there's labs. There's a lab in Santa Monica that I want to go visit. They're showing how it relates to your body in different... So like your liver vibrates between 20 and 32 hertz or something like that. Okay. A healthy liver. If it's not, it's at a different frequency. So if you play that 20 to 35, 32 hertz around it, the body is said to... Those vibrations go straight to the liver and start to align it. So that's what's said. And these people are doing these studies. These other people I met in Nepal during my documentary, they had these EEG sensors. So they'll play the singing bowls and they'll read the brainwave, and they'll watch it from these stressed out, anxious people from gamma, beta, down to alpha and theta within minutes just by playing these singing bowls, and they're watching the brainwaves happen. So that's an example of how the universe, through the use of the internet, is making intelligence more efficient.
Interesting.
Like consciousness itself. So that's the end all like means of the universe, is to figure everything out.
Yeah.
And as it figures everything out, it creates more to figure out.
So it kind of touched into your religion I was curious about. So your religion is...
I love how much of a host you are.
I know I don't mean to, but
No, it's cool. This is what I wanted to talk to you about, because your podcast inspired me a lot while I was gone. I didn't listen to a ton of it. I listened to a few episodes. You have a ton of them.
Yeah.
And... Not that your descriptions are misleading, but sometimes like it's hard, like the bits of information I wanted, I didn't know where it would pop up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I don't know the names of the people I listened to, but there was one girl, I think in New York, a blogger, who then made a CD,
book?
a book.
It was like about how she's like celibate.
Yeah, that
celibate.
One, the sex one. Yeah,
she's funny.
yeah. That was a fun one. That inspired me, because she said something in there. As long as you are consistent, your following will always rise on the internet. Yeah. It can never go down. And I needed to hear that at the time, because with all my projects at the time especially, I was just like, fuck it, what's the point of anything? You know, like no one's watching it, and I wasn't taking into account the other details that you need to refine your craft. Maybe you're not meant to have 1 million viewers right now because you're not good enough for it. It's 1 million viewers don't want to watch it. So that just happens to go along at the same kind of slope, you know, with you perfecting it good enough to the people that are going to be able to absorb it properly. You have to be able to manage it. And once again, Joe Rogan's a great example. I've been talking a lot about Joe Rogan with another friend, another guy, Growth Origins podcast. He interviewed me while I was in India. And we talked a lot about what it means to be a host. You know, and you could probably have a lot to contribute to that, with being able to like extract the information you need to.
Honestly, being on hosting the podcast has not always, but a lot of times led me to have better conversations. Like right after I got done recording 10 episodes, like within a week, I remember that weekend going out talking to people. Like the questions I would ask were better, and like one girl even like commented on it. She's like, "You ask good questions." But it's also trying to pay attention enough to what people say to be like, "Wait a minute, that was really interesting. Like,
Focus.
What was that?" Yeah. I still want to know about your religion, like, 'cause that's
well. So my
always
religion,
interests me.
my religion, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But after that, it's either a framework for my reality that I adhere to, which is complete fluidity. I call it a framework psychedelic. It's a framework for me to be myself and strong, yet it can always change based on what's going on. Because like a friend of mine puts it, the truth is only the truth in that moment in time. Because the fact of life is that we change our minds. And anyone that denies that's a fool. You know, I'm sorry. We change our minds. And maybe it takes years, maybe it takes minutes. I change my mind all the goddamn time. But the idea is that if you can be strong, and once again, this has been preached before in different ways. I just have my own terminology for it. Like, if you're strong, you've got your foundation, and you know where you find your happiness and your contentedness and your strength and your health. You know you, starting at the body, first and foremost. You know you, everything else is easy. And everything else is blissful, really. It's blissful. It starts with you, your perception. So that's what started the hashtag hologram. So it started out with me and my friend in New Orleans legitimately joking around saying we're starting a religion. And we branded it all. We made the website. We started the podcast. I did 16 episodes of the podcast.
Okay.
This was 2 years ago.
I didn't hear about this hashtag hologram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was actually rising considering I put no time into marketing it, right? But I had like 42 followers on SoundCloud in a month and a half of doing it for real. And it was fun, but I didn't have good equipment. It wasn't vibing on that level. It was about the content.
Yeah.
I'll get it back eventually. But anyway, it started as that. And our idea was just like, let's just say we're starting a religion. It can be a church. It'd be funny, and we just make it really funny. Mm-hmm. And we made a hashtag language that we would use on Twitter, incorporating trending hashtags to this hashtag language. And so people would be like, what the fuck is this? But they would keep seeing it. Yeah. This was our plan. I'm still working on actually making it happen one day. I was also thinking of making
like an example of a tweet you do with a hashtag language.
So how it works, and this has evolved, this has developed into a culture in my science fiction where they have these chips in their neck and they communicate via hashtags instead of verbally.
You mean like you're writing a book, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a sci-fi book. I've been writing it for years, but basically it's like you have this chip in your neck, and all the humans around the galaxy, they have this just to supplement what they're saying with hashtags for emotions, for environments, to signify the context, right? Because if you're not there, you don't know it. That's why hashtags are kind of cool. Yeah. Like kidding, not kidding. Yeah. So that's like not necessarily a more efficient way of communicating, but it supplements human communication. But this culture, this unique culture, who I've related to the Nepalis here, even though they haven't done this, but the way they live, is they use that only. They very rarely use their mouths because they've just developed this syntax with hashtags to make everything make more sense between two people. Because when two people talk, a lot more is going on in my experience than I can communicate with words.
Sure.
Right? It's limited. And this goes back to the mushroom trip, which will tie into the religion thing. Sweet. I experienced the bliss. I went to the death. And then something about my body pulled me back in. And it was straight up like a movie. I fucking zoomed in. Like, imagine this sandwich was my life, right? And it's in a box.
Yeah.
I fucking zoomed into the box, back into my body, and I woke up. And I opened my eyes. I'm like, holy shit. And the pain was back. The fear was back. The emotion was back. The thoughts were back. And then I was like, oh, I don't like that at all. So I tried to zone it out again, and I went back. And I was
you were able to go back?
Yeah, that's the difference between real life meditating and the psychedelic. Is it helps you get there.
Okay.
Right? So there's plenty of yogis, meditators, whatever, people that can get there, but it requires like really intense focus for a long period of time, and then that's how far you can astrally project, or whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
But with the drugs, the substances help you kind of see that it exists, but it's tainted by the substance. So whether you're doing it with weed or mushrooms or ayahuasca, the way that plant kind of presents the content to you is still there with you.
Gotcha.
Right? That's why people like weed, because it's relaxed. It's a plant that just is, and it chills, but it doesn't like take you too far into other dimensions. It just kind of changes things here. Yeah. You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But so I went back, and I was like, okay, cool. And then something else happened, and I snapped back in. And as I zoomed back in the second time, back to my body, I noticed that the box of my reality, this was literally my reality I was snapping back into. It was a box floating among the cosmos of stars that are in perfect syncopation with one another, like orbiting, I don't even know, like packets of energy just everywhere. That felt really good. You feel like the warmth from them. I don't even,
Sweet.
And then zoom back into my reality, and the box was like a prison of words, of language. And the first thing I thought of was Derrida, a French sociologist who wrote this stuff of grammatology, which is about how language, as a communication process for humans, has a finite endpoint, because you can only, essentially, it starts to become a loop. You're unable to communicate further. There's just a point where like you just can't go any further with what you're trying to explain, because any kind of like, if the word phone is a signifier for this, this signifies the phone. I don't even know how to explain it anymore.
I know
it was
what
a
you're
college
talking about.
thing, yeah. But basically, language is it's concrete, and we live in reality is very, very abstract.
Sure.
Right? So whether you look at it culturally, like people in the Himalayas, like or the Amazon, they look at the forests or the mountains a lot different than people from the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have different values. Like we go, okay, we can chop down those trees and make money. They go, oh, those trees are our gods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're like, okay, now what? You know, and that's why coming back here, you see the phone towers everywhere. Those are our fucking deities, man. They're all around. They surround us and they connect us with our power and our phone.
Yeah. It's both the good and the bad, I guess.
That was my first acid trip. Is when I was staring at those things. I'm like, holy shit, these are our fucking deities.
That was crazy.
So that happened, and then suddenly the pain went away. The trip ended, and I was like enlightened, whatever, and like running around going, oh my god. And it came back to this notion of the hashtag thing, right? Is throughout that trip, before I was actually like going through the hell, the hero's journey of going through Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dark night of the soul. Like every culture and religion has a similar thing. That I realized I was like a vessel, like, and this body was the vessel, and I was the pilot. But who am I? The reason I think we think it's up here is because this is where our senses of perception are, right? This is where we see. It's our cockpit. But it's not you.
Yeah.
You know? You don't make it shit. You don't make it digest. You don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And so, like, that Iceman guy, we see that, no, you can do it. It's just like a mechanic. How deep, how much are you going to learn your vessel?
Yeah.
Right? And learn to communicate with it. And so the more you can get to know it, the more powers you have. Just straight up, the more powers you have. Even if it's as simple and straightforward or empirical as creating a certain chemical in your brain, and that's regulated, that you can monitor on a screen if you're connected with the right things, or if it's more like yogi, chakra, new age, which will eventually be proven too, that they all these chakra things, they all coincide with different energy vibrations of different energies out there, right? So the heart is supposed to be love. That's supposed to be intuition. That's wisdom. That's sex, creative, right?
I just interviewed, so I went to a yoga retreat in Copenhagen like about a year ago. No, maybe earlier this year.
You went to a yoga retreat?
Yeah, it was fucking
sweet.
awesome.
Oh,
yeah. I want to do one again, potentially in Nicaragua. I don't know if you know anyone in Nicaragua that does anything like that, but anyways, so I ended up having my yoga teacher come on the podcast. I haven't released it yet, but it was good. Because the way she explained chakras to me actually made sense to me. Because, I mean, it's funny because on the podcast, when she first was explaining it, I'm like, you're doing it too new agey, which is fine, but it's different vocabulary. It's like the way people describe energy. It's like, sometimes you don't need to say energy like that. You can just say, like, you can say different things. Like, when, like a really, like, hippie person's like, man, it's all energy. You're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, bro.
But when a physicist is like, E=mc², matter is energy, you're like, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just like the way. So anyway, she was explaining chakras, and she was doing it like, well, there's these serpents of energy that swirl around, and I'm like, explain it to me the way you explained it to me then. And she's like, all right, well, if your chakra, like your sex chakra, is really small, you'll see someone in their body language. They're like whatever, hunched. Whatever.
That, like your heart chakra.
The heart chakra is a good one.
Yeah.
But
And they're not being very friendly normally. Normally, when you see someone like that, they're not friendly or loving, right? But you see someone with good posture, you're not really like, you interact with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've experienced that one for sure, but the sex chakra one, I can tell, like, when my hips are more open, it's like I just flow more. And if you see a girl at the bar where like her hips are like really, you're like, yes, she's kind of like closed off and whatever, that that's not happening.
Yeah. And then also, because I do a lot of hip stretches, just because I've been doing a lot of bike riding, so I have to be doing that. And we grew up playing football. We have tight hips. We're Western males. And the more I do that, the more emotional I'll get later on in the day. Like, because that also holds your emotions, they say. Which is why women are more emotional. They have biologically evolved to have looser hips so they can give birth, right? So they have more emotions that come out. We are capable of that too as men. We just have tighter hips, especially in the West.
Yeah.
So there's that part. Then there's also like the pelvis thing. Like I've been developing these muscles, right? And so that too, like girls that stand like this, they have control over that sexual energy. So the difference between having open sexual energy or having control of it, which is something I've been going through, because that's like, as we know, powerful energy. It creates life. Yeah. They say it's the most powerful life in the universe, or powerful energy in the universe, because it creates life. So I've been practicing a lot of Tantra. Okay. And in different forms. But those meditations I was telling you about earlier, those started as like tantric masturbation. Essentially, that's what it is. Okay. And so you just do these breathing, but you're with that you're going.
I
So
hope
you're
your parents
thrusting.
never walk in on you.
Oh no, they'd know. I would tell them all about it, and I'd be
yeah.
like, "Don't come in. I'm meditating." We put a sign on the wall, like, because it wouldn't just be that. It turned after 20 minutes of breathing like that, you just start going, and you start screaming. You just let all this stuff. You feel so fucking good.
Huh.
So imagine doing that with sex. It's so fucking powerful. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
And it wasn't until recently that I experienced my first tantric orgasm with a partner. I'd experienced it before alone, but this time I actually experienced it with a partner. And what happens is you're able to, once again, control that pleasure. And instead of it going out that way, it goes up through the kundalini. So you have to be kind of pure and open. You have to be exercising. Yoga helps. Eating, like, not eating a lot or drinking, right? That helps.
Yeah.
And then the breath, the oxygen is what really puts you in that state of catharsis. And so that when you're in the sexual primal activity, then boom, it fucking comes up. You feel so blissed out, zenned out. Nothing could ever get to you. And that is the exact state that, like, Buddhist monks are said to live in, that these yogis live in. This, like, obscene bliss of everything's amazing. I don't need to eat. I don't need anything right now. Everything's so amazing.
That's crazy.
So I hit that state once in a while, right, through my, like, spiritual practices, but never, like, all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something that comes with time and age. Is like eventually you get to this point. I think in the Western way of it, and this is how, if you're going to call it a religion, what would be preached is that you need to figure yourself out. The more you figure yourself out in every form, not just, okay, what do I like? What do I want my career to be? No, what do you like in bed? What kind of sex do you like? Figure that shit out, because that always changes too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
just like what style of exercise you want, right? Or like, honestly, the sex stuff changes a lot. And you will find that once you figure it out, you'll attract the proper partners into your life. So if you choose to have a monogamous partner, make sure if you're on a path of self-discovery that they are too. Yeah. Because that shit's going to change.
Yeah, that's...
that can be tough.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've realized. Actually, like, I had this girl roommate, and we were talking, and she's like, you need a girl that does yoga. And I'm like, really? Like, I never thought about it. And then as soon as she said that, I'm like, you're probably right. The kind of girl that I like probably does yoga. She's probably not just like, let's get wasted every weekend kind of thing. I'm like,
But in tune with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you're in bed with them and you get it.
Yeah.
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 Dancers too.
Oh yeah.
Dancers, yogis, anyone and that is like super in tune with their body. It can happen with people that go to the gym too. I think it's not the same.
Yeah.
But it would depend. But dancers, man, like, yeah, totally. Just anyone that has like some kind of sport that involves the expression of their body.
See, I need the intellectual part though too, and that's almost harder to find. I feel like
here's the thing that I've found is that intellectual part, it's not the same as like in yoga, right? There's 5 bodies, koshas they're called. You have your physical body, your mental body, emotional body, your intelligence body, your wisdom body. I guess that wisdom and intelligence are the same, and your bliss body. Okay. So the intelligence body is what's said to just channel through once you're pure. Meaning your mind isn't really you. Okay. Your mind is a product, an amalgamation of all the shit going on in your physical body, which correlates to everything going on in your emotional body. Okay. So you'll notice people that, and I say this like it's a fact, but if you start thinking about it, it makes sense. Or if you start observing, like maybe not now, but like think about it. People that are unhealthy generally have a lot of problems. Like they have more issues emotionally. They're, maybe they're smart, but that doesn't mean they're applying their intellect properly. Sure. Right? People that drink a lot, and I say this because I used to be one of them. Remember Thailand?
Yeah.
I don't drink anymore.
I was gonna ask you
I'm cold
about that.
turkey. I'm over it.
Oh, really? Okay.
It took a while to taper off.
So I mean, you still have like a beer with a friend, or not even?
No.
Oh, interesting.
No, even that fucks me up too much.
Okay.
It's just too much. Yeah. I have nothing against it. People can handle it. They have more focus than me. That's cool. But it takes me 3 days to recover. Yeah. Because I'm really sensitive with my body, right? Okay. I do a lot of shit with my body. Like I can't eat meat. I can't eat certain things. Like it's hard.
Oh, you can't even eat meat?
I don't eat meat. I take bites once in a while if there's a really good dish in front of me or something. Yeah. And I've kind of been disconnecting the last few days. But in general, like my baseline is I'm very like light. Yeah. And so alcohol does not help at all. Even though I love alcohol, don't get me wrong.
Honestly, I don't enjoy alcohol as much as I used to. Like,
but you were saying that years ago when we were in Thailand.
Yeah. I mean, it's just but it's even more so now. It's like 2 or 3 drinks, and sometimes I just feel sick. Like, I mean, I feel like maybe a little bit less. Like in the past, it was like I just felt like fucking awesome, and I mean, I probably felt better then as well, just because. Like I kind of go through, these ups and downs or whatever.
Here's what I think. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I think this goes along with the Zen state of life. I think as we get older, naturally we become more aware of our bodies.
Makes sense.
Which is why they say, oh, you hit your 30s, you can't drink anymore. I'm like, well, for me, it was 25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For other people, it might be 20.
Yeah,
I think kids are evolving a lot quicker now. And for other people, maybe it's 60. For my grandparents, maybe it never happens. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? But I think we develop awareness naturally. I think it's pretty natural. Unless you really shove shit down there to force it away.
Yeah.
But the alcohol is just poison. It steals so much energy.
It does.
It takes so much energy, and now that I'm doing all this stuff, I don't have time to drink. I don't have time to drink, and I don't have energy to deal with it after.
The problem is, so I'm curious how you get around it, is a lot of social things happen around alcohol. And
I don't do them.
Oh, you just don't do them?
I just don't do them.
I mean, I enjoy... It's also hard for me... I don't know how much... Maybe you can really, maybe... I don't know. I'm not sure. But, like, everything I do is by myself, work-wise. So it's like... If I want to go out, like, this was rare. Like, I figured we would have to go out to lunch. It's, like, kind of nice just to be, like, right? It's like, oh, we have to spend money to hang out. We can't just, like, chill.
Welcome to the fucking suburbs. Oh, fuck, it's already 12:30. Okay, I got 2 words of advice for you. 1, Tinder, OkCupid.
Yeah, I've
all my social stuff now is just with dates.
Yeah.
Whether they're a one-time thing or they go forward. All my social things are one-on-ones. Okay. I very rarely have, or whether it's men or women, I very rarely do group stuff now, unless it's with family.
Yeah.
And most of us don't drink anymore either, so that's cool. No, that's not true. But that's not an issue. That's not like a thing with the family.
Even with the dating, though, it's kind of like...
No, go on a walk, man.
I know, I do that, but it's easier if there's drinking involved.
Well, it depends what you're after, man.
I guess
it's a lot more fulfilling.
That's true.
To get what you want or what you think you want when it's sober. Believe me, because it's harder too.
Okay.
It's harder in that sense because like neither of you are loosened up from the booze.
Yeah.
And so then you're like there and you either go for it or you don't. But like I found it more fulfilling.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll take
to
that.
To not get it. But I mean, I get weird too. Like once we get into it, like we'll be doing singing bowl stuff in my room in the dark with candle, before I agree to actually go for the act of sex, like, there's plenty of steps involved. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, because, like, I try not to screw around with that energy.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a while, a woman will come along and she's just, like, a sexual healer.
Yeah.
Or, like, my sexual healer at the time, and I go for it. I allow it to happen. But a lot of the time, it's just, like... Because, like I said, a lot of the tantric stuff goes on for me. And I like that energy more than I like to come.
Yeah.
I like the tantric energy. It feels so fucking good, man. And it lasts for days and days. Like... It lasts and it goes forward. It's so revitalizing.
What about so I did the yoga retreat. I'm down to do another one. Is there any other kind of like retreats or things like that you think like, hey, this might be really beneficial for you?
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Let me think about that. Because there's a lot of things actually I could help you out with, or as far as connecting you with things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is from our brief conversation now and in the past, anything you're like, you know what, Travis, like this would probably be. For where you're at right now, good for you for the next
I don't know
step.
Exactly where you're at
I figured not.
Like, we went straight into podcast mode. We didn't even catch up as people.
I mean, yeah. Like, we can meet. You'll be here for another few days, right?
Yeah.
We'll definitely hang out again if you have time.
Yeah. So, you were saying, did you ever date a yoga girl?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
So, yoga retreats are good for that.
Yeah,
But that's the thing, is yoga retreats aren't always yoga people.
No.
You're on that path to getting to be a yoga person. But what I found is now that I'm a yoga guy, like as a yoga guy, as my yoga girlfriend was 5 years ago, I don't feel like I'll ever date a yoga girl because like I feel like there's just kind of this energy to be shared, this love to be shared because like yoga really opens you up to feeling really good. Other things do too, sure. But I just feel like for a long time, at least. I mean, ideally, this would be beautiful, but I just feel like it would be a waste. Like, 2 people that were fucking whatever, enlightened, feeling good all the time, yoga, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like, just together. I feel like by me going out and dating and meeting other people and exposing them to new ways of feeling good, because a lot of people, they have restricted fucking sex lives, man.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of girls I meet, oh my God. normally we don't even get to the bedroom because they're just so repressed by things. And I thought I was repressed. I came from a really rigid, growing up, really rigid household as far as sex and like beliefs, and I wasn't allowed to do anything, and I always thought it was wrong, and maybe it just was that much propelling me forward to now.
Yeah.
But I just see how repressed our society is, and I don't even mean America. I mean the world. Like Latin Americans, I think, are pretty cool.
Okay.
I follow a lot of them on Instagram just because they're so down. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I love looking at Latin American women on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you were there for a while, so
yeah,
maybe you could attest to that.
Yeah.
But Latin Americans I meet here too, and travelers, girls, man. I think traveler girls are my style more than anything, because we just come and go.
Yeah.
And we get it, and
Yeah.
like we're like, this is the moment. We're gonna fucking capture it. We're gonna go all the fuck out. No games.
Yeah.
No like, just like fucking let's do it. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because recently I had someone pass through that I met a year ago, but pretty much when we did that podcast, right around then. And it was amazing. It was beautiful couple days. And it was just like, boom, like it had always, and it was never romantic before. That was never like the thing when she was coming. But it was great. And I realized how stagnant I'd gotten being here for a few months. And I realized like I was falling in love.
With her?
Yeah, because she was she was like me in another dimension, she's like me. That's what I do. I stay with couch surfers, women normally, and like we kind of fall in love, and then I leave because it's time for me to go, and that's it. And I felt the same way, like, oh shit, you're leaving? Oh, I feel empty without you. Oh.
That's funny.
And so I realized, okay, I guess I still have these tendencies to codependency.
Yeah.
Like everyone in our culture, I guess. But yeah, that's on the relationship level. But yeah, we'll talk more about the other stuff.
Okay.
I wanted to say this to plug your podcast, How to Do Your 20s, because I think it's important. I think there's like this movement towards people trying to inspire other people to live their lives. So I think How to Do Your 20s is a good...
Yeah, it's been, I think you've said you've kind of gone through a similar thing, but I think I've been doing it every week. I think I'm going to switch to every other week just because the numbers aren't really growing where I'd want them to be, and I feel like I'm spending too much time on that and like not enough time on the things that like are actually doing well for me, if that makes sense. Like my business with my mom, that's really where I've been focusing on.
Is it doing well for you?
It's doing really good now. Yeah, we're having a record month. We already had a record month and it's not over yet. We should do last January of this year was our biggest month. Before this month we did like 40K in revenue. We should do 50 to 55K in revenue this month. But more importantly, like it's profitable. And for me, I need a source of income just because like I've tried just the backpack free thing. It's not for me. Like I'm more like I want to be in a place, I want to be able to afford to go out to eat, like cuz I'm cheap too. So it's like if it's like borderline if I could afford something, I'm not going to do it, you know.
What's your sign?
Scorpio.
Okay.
Why?
You know your other signs?
I don't know.
I would love to look at your chart.
Yeah.
No, because that relates really importantly. Like I'm a Pisces.
Uh-huh.
Pisces don't give a fuck about material things.
Yeah.
And there's myths that back in the day they would leave Pisces out to die. Because they just wouldn't care about making money, about this and that. Because they're just like too spiritual or whatever. But going further down on, maybe, I don't know about Scorpio that much, but other signs value things like money a lot more. And that's what makes the world go round.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, to me, it's like, it's that security more than anything. Like, I don't need to be a billionaire. Like, I actually don't want to, be a billionaire. I want to do pretty well for myself. But it's also, what I've realized is, this isn't the proper way to say it, but like, money's kind of like a goal for me in the sense, like, I need some kind of purpose.
It's fun.
It's
a fun game.
It is like a
That's
video game.
That's what it's become for me.
Yeah. Like, it is, literally, when I check my stats on the website, it's like I used to play like an RPG, and I'm like, oh my god, we just leveled up, you know?
Metrics are fun.
Yeah, it's a blast, and it really is, not always, but like I'd say probably like 80% of the time, like a video game where it's like an RPG style where you're doing this boring shit, and then it pays off, and when it pays off, you're like, yes.
Yeah, interesting.
And then it kind
of... It's a role-playing game.
It really is.
That goes along with this religion thing.
Yeah.
You're in your vessel playing a game.
Yeah, that's actually one of the biggest things I've recently realized, or not somewhat recently, is if this was all just a video game and like at the end of my life, you know, the console was turned off and I was like sucked back into reality, what would I do? And for a while I'm like, man, I would just travel and I'd drift around, and I realized like, no, this isn't what I'd do. Like, I'd do it for a while, but then what would I do? Well, I'd try to build something and create something. And then, to me, vacation is fun when it's a vacation from something.
Yeah.
When it's the constant, it's like, it feels just like drifting. When it's like, oh man, I've been working hard, I deserve this, I enjoy it more. There's no kind of question of, because while I was traveling, I would be like half working, half trying to enjoy the moment, and I wouldn't do either one really well. I want to be able to go to South America for a month, focus on nothing but Spanish, completely forget about my business, and just completely be immersed. In the past, I'd be there, I'd be trying to learn Spanish, I'd be trying to go out and have fun, but I'd be 60% of the time I'd be working on my business. It wasn't enough to move my business forward, but at the same time, like, I didn't feel really relaxed enough. So I think at least at this point, that's what I'm trying to go after. And I think for me, Santa Monica is a good place, or that general area, like LA area, because I know a lot of people. I'm sick of meeting new people and then being like, all right, see ya, never going to see you again. It's just draining to me to like build up. Same thing with like girls and like relationships. It's like all this work at first. There is a lot of games. There is all this bullshit. And then it's like, well, now that we're finally like hitting it off, I'm going to leave and I got to go try to do this again. You know, I'm also like I've realized I'm a relationship type person. I like the conversations that come, like the real conversations where you can just say like, hey, you know, I was thinking about this random ass thing and I want to talk about this weird thing for an hour. You don't get that, for me at least, when you're dating, you know.
Yeah, the way I am is not a relationship person. Well, see, in the sense I'm opposite. I get really deep really fast.
Yeah.
And it either scares them away or it's great, but then one of us leave and it's over. That's fine for me. I don't always like it that way, but I think if I had it the other way, I would be like, I'm over it.
Yeah, and that being said, the grass is always greener, and
yeah,
I know
exactly,
that.
yeah.
So, but it's just I've been single for so long that I'm like, I really just kind of want to.
I got you.
Yeah, like go deep into that, and then after that, when I am single again, it's like, oh, this is a blast being single, and then I see
a vacation.
Myself, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that like long term I'll be monogamous, just because. I mean, maybe it was cultural brainwashing, but at this point, it's like that's what I value.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
I like
easier.
that. Yeah, that's it.
Normal time, it just requires less energy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the energy to put forward to not be monogamous, good. If you can do it right.
Yeah.
But if you don't, good. That's fine. People
Yeah.
put their energy in different direction. I happen to really value the way I can live non-monogamously in open honesty, open communication with everyone involved.
Yeah.
So.
What about kids? Do you want to have kids or?
No.
Oh, see, kids to me is like.
Kids to me is like, once again, and I'm a floater that doesn't give a fuck. If it happens, cool.
Okay.
I'll see what happens, but I'm not like making plans.
To me, I at least in my head right now at this point, think that when I do have kids, and I don't want to do it until it's like the right person and whatever, that'll be like the biggest thing I ever do with my life. Like everything else is kind of like both my uncles on my dad's side don't have kids, and I was talking to one of them, like, doesn't it ever just feel kind of like meaningless? To me, it would, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe.
Well, this is what. Actually, I was meeting up with my friend Ryan in New York. He went to Saugus. I don't know if you knew him.
I think I might have, but. Yeah.
He runs a startup.
Okay.
He's a total digital nomad, and so we really hit it. He reminded me of you in a lot of ways.
What was his last name?
I don't want to say it on this.
Okay.
I'll tell you after. But yeah, he reminded me of you in a lot of ways. Not just because like I grew up with him, like I kind of grew up with you. But total business, total loves to travel, you know, doing his thing. And so we kind of made some videos together, and I learned a lot from him in the sense of, like, starting a startup, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if you remember, but I wanted to have another conversation with you. Because back before I left Nepal, I was thinking of actually starting a company for this video stuff. And you don't even know what I'm talking about. But I have a lot of, like, different projects that have evolved. And so since that time, I've actually started a company. I'm starting a second company. And, like, a lot of things are moving, and so as far as the game goes, I've started to play it as well, and I've started to have a lot of fun with it. Like I've been playing with the game of reality for years, right? And now I'm starting to play the game of money, and it's a different game. I'm learning the rules still. I'm learning how it goes, but I have people working with me that understand it better than me in different forms, and I'm the creative side, and I have people that believe in what I'm doing, which I think is the most important part. Yeah. But anyway, I've started this, and I've like gone into this game totally, and it's interesting because a lot's changed since we spoke a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I wanted to talk to you. Yeah, because a lot of people have come to my channel. Maybe not, I don't know if it's because of our podcast or not, but a lot of people have listened to that podcast.
A lot of people
to the point where a few people actually on my comment, someone asks, how do you do this, or blah, 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 or why do you think this? And someone responded, because he did mushrooms once or something. A source interview. And I'm like, holy shit, that's like a fan right there.
Yeah, that's
someone
cool.
that knows about my life commenting on it, and that felt really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know people really liked that. And so with my YouTube channel, and now I'm doing it on my Snapchat, but I have the vlog. I do 5 days a week on YouTube.
Nice.
And I'll edit a big chunk of them. And so technically I'm still in New Orleans right now, even though that was June.
Okay.
But I have all this in advance, and I just load it on 5 days a week. And so they're conversations, they're little fun bits, but they're more the conversations. But people are watching them. Subscribership is growing, man, like fast.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Snapchat is more like daily little bits. But in the same way, How to Do Your 20s was your way to kind of share your curiosity and talk to people you want to talk to. Because you're curious. You're a curious guy. I'm a curious guy, too. And it took a lot of things for me to, like, let that go and actually, like, own it. Like, yeah, that is me. I am curious. It's not weird, blah, 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 because of these insecurities from childhood. And I realized, like, that's kind of like the future of, or what's going on now, of, like, the world. Is just you have a bunch of different minor celebrities, people, with their own projects that have their own little followings, that they're all preaching something similar, which is be yourself.
Yeah.
Learn how to be yourself. And it's your own expression of how to be yourself. For you, it's talking to these people of all different genres, different styles of life.
Yeah.
For me, it's mostly just talking about the shit I've gone through, but whatever, it doesn't matter. If you don't like it, don't subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what's kind of neat about it.
It's funny because I remember, like, as a kid, there's, like, these jokes that in the future there'd be 1 million channels of TV or whatever. It's reality. It's just, it's not on DirecTV. It's on YouTube. There's literally whatever your weird shit you're interested in. It's like if you want to know how to do, I don't know, I was going to say, like, some random vegan baking method that I've never heard of. There's probably a channel about it. And that's cool.
Yeah, literally for anything. And you got to find it, though, which is where marketing is important.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I
love that stuff. So, when can you talk again? I don't know if you have, I know you got to go.
Another meeting at 1. All right, that's it for today.